If you had to start over knowing what you know now and you wanted to go out and start a business where you could flip multiple properties, kind of like you did when you first started out, what advice would you give to somebody to start developing your capital availability?
So the first thing I would tell anybody that wants to start a house flipping business, don't. Um, okay, I wouldn't go that far. But what I would say is I did a lot of things wrong that I wish I would have done differently. And I'll answer your question in a second. But I think this is really important because I learned some lessons, and I don't like to waste any lessons I learn when I can help others hopefully avoid the same mistakes. Number one, I look back at all the houses I flipped, and you mentioned it's about 450 houses. Now, obviously, I never would have had the cash or the ability to hold all 450 houses, but let's thought experiment. Let's pretend I could have held 450 houses. My wife and I, about a year or two ago, went back and we kind of did the math based on the values of many of those houses that we sold back then. If we kept every one of those houses for 10 or 15 years, like we had never sold anything, our net worth would have been about $60 million higher. $60 million. Now, let's say we all know I couldn't have done that. I didn't have the capital to hold all of those houses. But let's say I would have flipped 3 and held 1. Let's say for every 4 houses I bought, I just would have held 1. Well, that's $15 million more to our net worth. So the biggest lesson I've learned over the last 15 years is that while pots of cash are nice, while selling and getting a big check at the end of the deal is nice, the way to true wealth is through buying and holding long term.